Welcome to our first Student Leaders Assembly. Please be standing for the national anthem. You're encouraged to sing along.
O God of all creation, bless this our land and nation. Justice be our shield and defender. May we dwell in unity, peace and liberty. Plenty be found within our borders. Mungu nguvu yetu, ilete baraka kwetu. Haki iwe ngao na mlinzi, na tukae na undugu, amani na uhuru. Raha tupate na ustawi.
You may take your seats. First, I would like to start with the announcements for today. The Ransco virtual conference has begun and is going on very well. World Scholars Cup today at 5 p.m. Please be prompt. The school production rehearsals for cast and crew today are at 5 p.m. today. The Rhino Cup meeting is today at 5 p.m. Please be prompt. Are there any other announcements?
Good morning. Wow, good morning. Go on, just one more time. Good morning, Brookhouse. We'll work on that. Guys, in 2 weeks' time, it is the Runda Interhouse Music and Dance Competition 2021. There will be 2 teams per house. So you've got a music team and a dance team. Each team is comprised of a maximum of 6 people, and all the details will be sent to your house captains and your house leaders. The 4 songs for the dance competition will be selected now. So Amber Sellies is first. So Amber Sellies is John Sennett by Shoma Josie. Maris. Maris is Selfie by Kofi Olomide. Hey. Samburus is Surayako by Saltisol. And the last one is Huku by Shoma Josie for Salary. So please see your house captains and leaders for all the details. Have a good day.
So over the holidays and over the past few weeks, we've had some students taking part in swimming galas and competitions. I would like to invite Ms. Kariki to just help me award this presentation to Bilal, who got a 2nd place at the Invitational Kiambu Championships. So Bilal Naga, if you would please come up.
Our assembly today focuses on the 2 key pillars of the Rand Square ideals, democracy and leadership. Events around the world have left us with much to ponder about, starting with the health pandemic and most recently, the coup in Guinea, and the crisis in Afghanistan? Has democracy been a success? Has our leadership provided the guidance needed by the citizens? How can the world embrace diversity and inclusion in these unpredictable times? I would now like to invite Maunyo to the podium to share with us his views.
What is happening in Afghanistan? Recently, foreign troops withdrew from Afghanistan after 20 years of fighting. And this resulted in the Taliban taking control of Afghanistan. This led to many Afghan citizens trying to evacuate the country, as they feared the Taliban government would be repressive and enforce strict laws that would limit people's rights. What is leadership? Leadership is the ability to lead and empower others. Leadership is similar to art in that there is no right or wrong way to do it. During the US evacuation of Afghanistan, Lieutenant Colonel Eric Coote and the crew of a C-17 American aircraft showed leadership by taking action and being compassionate in deciding to help evacuate 823 Afghans from Afghanistan because they believed it was the right thing to do. Coote is quoted as saying, "We have women and children and people's lives at stake. It's not about capacity or rules and regulations. It's about the training and the directives that we were able to handle to make sure that we could safely and effectively get that many people out and max reform those efforts." At Brookhouse, one of the key pillars is servant leadership. What you might ask is servant leadership. Servant leadership is a style of leadership in which leaders strive to serve others and focus on the needs of others before their own. In your school, you can participate in servant leadership offerings like RICA, put yourself forward as a house captain and as a Round Square Ideals Committee leader, or even a club leader. Volunteering to help others is the mark of a true servant leader. I would now like to call on Leon to talk about diversity.
What is diversity? I believe that diversity is a concept that encompasses acceptance and respect towards others. It means understanding that each individual is unique and special in their own way. As we all know, the Taliban have taken over the country of Afghanistan and have enforced some strict rules and regulations that have left some Afghan citizens in danger. Primary targets such as the Afghan women have found themselves in a vulnerable position where the human rights have been stripped away from them, and they have been subjected to domestic violence and exploitation. The unfortunate crisis in Afghanistan brought people and countries from all over the world together so that they could try and remedy the disaster that the Afghans have been facing. A prime example would be the United States working in unison with the United Kingdom and Germany in an attempt to remedy and free the citizens of Afghanistan. I believe that this is a key circumstance that portrays diversity, as it demonstrates a group of different nationalities coming together to help each other fulfill a noble cause. It evokes a true sense of what unity in diversity really means. Here at Brookhouse, we encourage diversity through our discovery frameworks, which allows us to appreciate and embrace all the different ethnicities, religions, nationalities, and more. Today, as the future leaders of tomorrow, we are calling to you to practice this concept of diversity through activities such as Round Square International Conferences that we all have the opportunity to attend here at Brookhouse. I would now like to call to Terry to share a brief talk on democracy.
In the words of Kofi Annan, democracy is in essence a form of non-violent conflict management. If war is the worst enemy of development, healthy and balanced development is the best form of conflict prevention. The current conflict in Afghanistan is the epitome of the importance of this balance, as in recent years, the overthrown government and the takeover by the Taliban has put the country's democracy to the test. The needs and opinions of Afghan citizens have been neglected, leading to loss of lives, livelihoods, and overall displacing 2.5 million refugees. This is the result of the lack of rule of law and a desperate need for security driven by fear. Under the Taliban rule, working women now experience social restrictions while being forced to stay at home. Girls are not allowed to go to school, and anyone working with outside influences is targeted and at risk of violence. But Brookhouse practices democracy as part of our Round Square ideals. This is aimed at conflict resolution and providing a school environment that acknowledges the voice of every student. The student body has the opportunity to practice democracy through the voting process of various student leader positions. And as student leaders, we encourage you today to continue to actively participate in inter-house activities, MUN, and other aspects of democracy in the school for more inclusion of the student voice in world issues. I now invite Nikki to further elaborate on the importance of inclusivity.
Sonali Silva, a professional on inclusive leadership, once said that judgment can afford to be lazy. Inclusion is a skill that takes courage, empathy, and practice. It is extremely important today, more than ever, to include each other in everything we do, especially as we watch the massive global crisis in Afghanistan unfold. As we view the rights of men, women, and children being stripped away in this horrific incident, it is imperative that we stop and ask ourselves what lessons can be learned. The lessons that I see as this crisis unfolds is that even at our young age, just starting out as leaders, we must learn to view one another as equals, regardless of gender, race, and any other orientation that threatens to divide us. As future leaders, it is paramount that we all recognize that our differences are our greatest strengths, and we should not exclude anyone because of them. In Brookhouse, we practice inclusion in school when we are in our respective houses. Whether you are in Mara, Savo, Samburu, or Amboseli, being a part of any activity is extremely important as it prepares us to face a world that is even more diverse than we could ever imagine. It is therefore my hope that we as a school, a country, and as one human race.
At the end of those 2 years, realizing the value of my photographs, showcasing the secular youth culture of Iran for the world to see, I packed my bags and moved to Kabul to document a generation that has only known war and a subculture that no one really knows about. This group of young people, born between 1980, the first year of Soviet invasion of Afghanistan, and 2001, which marks the first year of US-led military intervention of Afghanistan, are Afghan millennials. They show great resiliency and hope. When I first met some of these Afghan millennials, the best and the brightest of their generation, they were hopeful almost to a fault, determined to bring their beleaguered but beloved country into the light at the start of 2015. The past 12 months have put their commitment into test. Rather than making every effort to leave and seek asylum in European countries, the secular youth captured in my photographs have stayed and strived to transform their war-torn country into a more secure and prosperous place to live. But remaining secular in Afghanistan comes with a price for everyone. The youth The youth have to maintain several identities and live a dual life by hiding some of their activities from their parents, their relatives, their friends, colleagues, and the eye of public. Due to the strong presence of Islamic beliefs, drinking is not tolerated among Afghans. But Sohaila and her friend hit one of the only underground bars left in Kabul to have a drink and listen to loud live music. And while music was banned under Taliban regime, today young people like Jaleh pick up their guitar to play a cover of Avril Lavigne's song. Members of Afghan Dream breakdancing crew practiced and rehearsed in the French school auditorium up until it was attacked and blown up by Taliban this year. Most forms of dance are seen as morally corrupt. While photography was a punishable act under Taliban regime, today young men compete in modeling contests in hopes of becoming a model and taking over billboards all across the city. Brave young women sweat off the stress of everyday life by practicing with a national team of boxing, while their mothers just 15 years ago were not even allowed out on the street under Taliban rule. This slice of culture, led by a courageous group of young people, is not a monolithic fraction, but signals hope. One thing that many of these young men and women pointed out to me is that their generation seems to have found its voice, and it's important for the world to know it exists. The youth that I met shortly after I moved to Kabul in December of 2014 were all positively patriotic and hopeful about their country. But after such a difficult year, their words and their tones are much less upbeat today. Having grown up in Iran, where the youth strive to dream in the face of oppression, this is a generation that I identify with, a generation that fights for the strain of life in middle of constant conflict. May this fraternity and solidarity among young Afghans lead into patience and strength. May they find motivation to carry on. Thank you.
Before our assembly comes to an end, I would like to invite Mr. Luther to say something.
We live in a very interesting world. I've just heard what the student leaders have presented today. And I just want to take a few moments and think about living in Afghanistan, being in Kabul. Just take a moment and think about it.